Chapter 4, The Questions. What is your purpose in life? What do you think the purpose of the human race is in this universe? When do you think time began? Do you live on when you die? What about banana slugs? Do they go on too? How about paramecia and amoebas? Do they live on? When do you think time will end? What is natural and unnatural for humans? Where do you think all the dead people and animals are? How do you think the human race began? Why do we fight so amongst ourselves, and what can we do to change it? Can you really know anything? Why is the sky blue? What do you think is responsible for our existence? To what extent do you think you humans take responsibility for existence? Should we take responsibility for our existence? Many people on the planet are starting to come together and ask these questions again in light of all our latest discoveries and advances in logic and science. I give us a lot of credit. We are moving in directions that are predictable given all that has occurred. We are, the human race, becoming aware that we are the universe aware. You do not need to read this to see it happening all around you. This will just help you be aware of what you are perceiving and absorbing. We have always had many questions. Ever wonder why we don't have solid answers? Your brain, distrust, lack of knowledge, fear, power and control over people. This book and effort is yet another attempt to set you free to be you. There is a part of your brain that you should know about. It is a bundle of neural cells that constantly asks for answers to the questions. You will notice this bundle reacting as you read the questions, and it will tell your brain that this is happening, and you will feel a little tense and perhaps exasperated. Exasperated because that part of your brain works on this all the time and is never satisfied. This is an attempt to finally satisfy that part of your brain. It needs answers to the questions because everything that you do at any given moment is based on the answers to very basic questions of these kind. We have denied the answers for a very long time for very good reasons. As you will read later, if we had believed the truth even 200 years ago, let alone 200,000 years ago, we almost certainly would not be here as we are today. After reading this, you may agree with that, and I would love it. I almost think that we would have skipped many disgusting stages of our human existence. As I think more and more on this in these moments that I am writing, I think things would be very different and perfectly fine. We would probably already be living on other planets and moons in our solar system and have something figured out to get to the nearest cool planet within a year. Imagine that. A 2-year paid working vacation that is essentially a tour of part of our galaxy. Right now, we are a civilization that has not realized itself, and it is all because of this little part of your brain that screams at you, "What is this all about and why?" Most of the answers that we give this part of the brain are incredibly weak. That's right. You give this part of your brain an answer from another part of your brain. How hard is that to understand? The answers that we give this part of the brain, I do not know what it is called, go do some research, are inadequate because they are unverifiable in reality. We have done this because that part of the brain and other parts does not want to accept all the things that are verifiable together because they imply something that the brain at large really does not want to believe, specifically that it will cease to exist. Why does it not want to believe the answers and implications that it receives? Because it wants to live forever, and it wants every living thing that it has ever encountered and loved to live forever in ways that range from peace to torment. The brain is a selfish little device, as you may come to discover, or you may already know because you have succumbed to its power. It is the universe aware of itself, like you. You can almost look at it like a child or pet. Obviously, it misbehaves, sometimes regardless of what you tell it and oblivious to your demands. You give it answers that make no sense. Why should it believe you or anything else? Your struggle begins with that part of your brain that really would like something that makes sense. There are an infinite number of other parts of your brain that analyze your position very realistically, but you do not give those answers to that part of your begging brain. These answers that you do not tell it are so simple, and you know them so well. They are written all over the place. We speak them every day. We just don't put them together for our brain to let it know what really seems to be happening, let alone tell other brains, other people, what appears to be happening for fear we may lose our reputations along with our heads. We do not tell ourselves that there seems to be nothing at all to believe in, and we do not tell others because it contradicts everything that we have told ourselves for thousands of years before we knew what fecal matter really was, before we knew that we didn't know anything. In sum, the brain has an incredibly strong will to live, and so do you. The questions are easy to present and accept as important questions. The obvious answers to them, on the other hand, are extremely difficult to accept all at once for your brain and for you. Once you accept these answers as very good possibilities to base your life on, you will then find that life itself will become a lot more understandable. This newly acquired understanding might not be good for you at first. You will come to understand that later. Just know that your will and the will of your brain will tell you anything to keep you sane, because this life appears to be quite insane compared to what people have created and because of what people have created. From the moment that the first human thought anything, we have had to lie to ourselves about what we perceive. There are an infinite number of ways to ask these questions, and that is part of what keeps us so confused and ignorantly entertained. We ask these questions to ourselves in ways that confuse ourselves. They do not bring real clarity, since not many think much these days. These questions actually make most people stop and think because their reality is not really based on reality. Like that question about the tree in the woods falling and not making sound because there's no human to hear it. You'll see more on that. We keep ourselves confused when we do not know what to believe. If you believe something completely, then you are not confused, but might want to check what you believe against what you see every day and throughout history. We have much greater things to be concerned with, and that is each other. You already know where I'm going, so I'll change tracks a little. I am calling these the questions because they seem to be the most crucial questions whose answers govern human existence. Does that sound like too big a statement to you? Let us dig into you for a moment. Do you know what happens when thousands of people in a community believe that Jews are dirt, women are dirt, blacks are dirt, and the native people of the American continents are dirt, whites are dirt, Irish are dirt? Do you know what happens? They all torture and kill each other physically, mentally, and emotionally. To deny this is sick. All of these people, thousands of them, seem to be denying it. So really, if you fall into this category, then you have some serious problems. Please allow me to welcome you to a new realm of existence for yourself and those around you. An existence where when someone asks you, hey, if you don't mind me asking, what are you? You may merely reply, I'm human. What are you? I think for you to say that you are an energetic being and what are they is a little over the top if you're trying to subscribe to this philosophical belief system, but it would be even better. Better than the slander and hatred that we put upon each other by labeling ourselves and hating those labels. What you actually hate is a person's way of existence. If a way of existence is deleterious, destructive, or damaging to a community, then it is not to be appreciated. It is not okay to kill a person or group of people because of what you believe. With these thoughts comes destruction of all types to lives that never chose to be born, and that includes you. The main question that I am addressing here is, who are we? Which implies, who are you? If you are black and I am white, then what we believe about these things comes into play immediately. If you're missing your teeth and wearing a shirt that says "I smoke crack" as you hobble around asking for dimes, then one may understand that you have very little control over the life that you find yourself in. If I am a Muslim and you are American, then some other dynamics come into play. All the while, we seem to be humans on a planet exhibiting patterns. What we believe about our place and our position makes all the difference as to how we think and behave every day at every moment. I'm not here to ask you stupid questions that will make you second guess whether you are really sitting here reading this book, or if you might just be part of a butterfly's dream that actually occurs quicker than we think. I am here presenting these questions that are the most built upon questions that exist for us. We have waited long enough to revisit them. Most of us do not realize that the questions are still not adequately answered. Many of us die before we ever even think that there could possibly be any adequate answers to any of these questions. This is unfortunate since we are living together. We can barely even mention these questions without immediate tension. This is because we have been lying to each other over many thousands of years. We do not trust that anybody truly knows anything. This is such a shame since there is so much that we know and understand now. And putting together a decent picture of all that we wonder about this existence should not be that difficult. I suppose that is why I am giving you my interpretation of it now. I've done the work for you. You may trust that I have genuinely tried to figure out what the best answers might be for us. By now, to me, they are quite obvious, and yet not a day goes by that I do not see people literally destroying each other because they believe that they are pursuing the correct course of action given all the circumstances of the moment. Life sucks for so many people because we make it that way, and we have made it that way through all our past actions. We did all this and never stopped as a race of people to revisit the questions upon which we have built almost everything. Life is what we make it. Sound familiar? As you read and review the questions, please be aware that any answer to any of them could be true. All that we have discovered has led to answers about our position that are undeniable, such as the idea that we exist together on a planet and we don't see anyone else around. This should be common knowledge for our race, as should every word in this document. These are the questions that we need to agree upon first in order to build a more aware human race. Look at us. Everyone on the planet knows, falsely, that there is a God. One belief, well, it may as well be another. What if everyone knew that peace was all that ever existed? I have tried to base all of this on things that all of us can see and experience. In this mission, I found there to be plenty of interesting questions that have to do with reality itself, like how much can I actually say to you without saying it? When you face these questions over and over and begin to accept what you see, like your perceptions of the universe and all that others have discovered, like the details of this book, you will find true liberation in your human existence, and you may just grant other people, animals, and organisms their liberation. I don't know what else to say to introduce these questions. The answers that we have force-fed ourselves have created a deplorable existence for too many people here on Earth. It all comes down to what we believe to be the answers to these questions. Each one applies to you personally, to every group that you can think of, every organism in the universe, and every inanimate object in the universe, which, in short, is everything that is a thing. Without further ado, I give them to you. Think what you will. The patterns that I present to you will remain here for you upon your return. Have fun. The numbers next to each question correspond to the tenet which may shed light upon the question to which it is associated. Despite this type of organization, there is plenty of associative overlap amongst the questions and the answers that are implied in the tenets. So, the questions that we need to revisit are as follows. I'm going to read them moderately. What are we? What are we doing here? When are we? When did time begin? When will time end? Where are we? What is everything? Can I foresee the future? Are we free? What is nature? What is natural? What is this life all about? What happens when we die? What is human existence? Where are we going? What are we to do here? What can we truly know? Of what worth are we? How are we? Why are we? What is love? How did life begin? How will it end? Are there gods? Why does everyone think that there are gods? Again, there are an infinite number of questions that we can ask about this existence. This is partially what keeps us from understanding it. Before we invest in one answer, we present ourselves with another confusing question. We do this to each other and debate endlessly. The questions above are the most important to us, and they will assuredly lead you to many other questions that you should have regarding your particular position. You should delight in questions, but not about what we are and what this existence is all about. We should be able to ask any question in delight and entertain the answers realistically when they pertain to how we live our lives. If you encounter someone who believes that all of some culture should be eliminated, then you know you're dealing with someone who is lost and wants to hurt their own race. They may as well be a cannibal. Please do something about this. I know you might dislike philosophy, but these questions are straight from the discipline. You have always been a philosopher, just like everyone else. To what extent we are decent at practicing the art is another story entirely. Every utterance that emanates from our bodies has some kind of meaning and line of origin and is a statement about what a person is thinking and where their awareness is at any given moment in time. If you believe anything, then you do so because of reasons in the past and not for reasons in the future. That is philosophy. It is not just a subject in school. It is what we all do all the time. In our past, the use and abuse of flawed logic should be apparent to anyone who can see this planet, its history, and its social patterns. That is why we have these questions. If you cannot memorize a book of, if you can memorize a book of babbling begots, as in the introductory pages of the Testaments, then you can ponder a few questions that are being told to you as a being crucial for human race to understand and agree upon. Answering these questions, as we have in the past, has not worked out so well. I hope that you are ready for something completely different and yet so familiar. I work ever so hard to be aware that the answers are in you already, and that this will aid in bringing them to the forefront of your mind on a daily basis because it helps. These answers, simple as they may be, do not seem to be at the forefront of our minds as a human race. I would love for the answers to be simple for you, so I could present the simple answers with these questions. I do not believe that you could have read the questions and the answers alone and understood their meaning, because you have not, after all these years. Therefore, you will encounter more of my delightful prose as I explain the very simple answers to these questions that yet remain difficult for most to swallow, understand, or comprehend. And that is the end of chapter 4.